What is up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel. This is Cooking the Chef K Way, the show where we cook the Chef K way. If you have a problem cooking the Chef K way, you can always cook it your way. But today we are making seafood gumbo. We're gonna start off this video making our own stock from scratch. If you do not want to make your stock from scratch, you can always use a seafood stock that's already made or a chicken stock, and you can skip along to the timestamp below if you just want to see how to make the gumbo and not how to make the stock. But we're just going to jump right into making that stock. Okay, so to get our stock started, we're going to need the Cajun Holy Trinity. So we need a yellow onion, a green bell pepper, and celery. And part of the Holy Trinity, but not necessarily the Holy Trinity, is a whole head of garlic. And also, since we're making this a seafood stock, I've been collecting these shrimp shells for about 6 months now. This is probably 100, I would say, shrimp shells. So I eat shrimp quite often, so this is nothing for me really. And we're just gonna put this straight into our stock. And as far as chopping this, we're just gonna put a rough chop on it because we're just gonna boil it in our water. And by the way, we need 8 cups of water. And then we're just gonna let it boil, let those flavors marinate, and everything's gonna be great. So I have everything in my stock back here in a medium-high heat, and I know I said 8 cups of water, but I ended up covering it until everything was all submerged into the water, so you're probably gonna use a lot more than 8 cups. So just use water until it's all covered. I know this probably looks disgusting right now, but remember, it is stock. We are rough chopping everything. It does not have to be pretty, because when this is all done, we're just going to drain it. And if I haven't said it, I think I said it, I have it on medium-high heat. And we're just gonna bring this to a boil, let it boil for about 10 minutes, let it cool, and then put it in a container and let it refrigerate overnight. And we're gonna come back and make our gumbo. Okay folks, so we're back and it's the next day. Right here, I have my shrimp stock. It came out beautifully. I let it refrigerate overnight and it just smells delicious. I'm ready to use it. Again, if you did not use your own shrimp stock, you can always just substitute that for chicken stock or a seafood stock. But let's just get right into the ingredients so we can make this gumbo because cold weather season is coming. So the first ingredients that we need and we're gonna see is that Cajun Holy Trinity again. So I have 2 yellow onions. If you have large yellow onions, you just need 1, but these are very small at my grocery store, so I have 2. 2 garlic cloves, 3 stalks of celery, and then you're just gonna use half of this bell pepper. Along with that, we're also gonna have half a cup of vegetable oil and half a cup of butter or a whole stick if you have it. For our meats, we can essentially use anything that we want, but this is the Chef K way. So I am going to be using shrimp, andouille sausage, a cluster of crab legs, and crawfish tails. So now that we see where our ingredients are, let's chop up these veggies and get everything down to a fine dice so we can make this gumbo and not waste any time.
So I'm going to use these 30 seconds to just talk. I am so excited about this new channel, you guys. I can't wait to show you what I make. I cook all the time and I post it on Instagram and Snapchat. And I get so many messages on things. And honestly, after trying to have a YouTube channel for 7 years, I think that the cooking channel is the way to go. But I'm just so excited. You know, you can watch me struggle with my knife skills. Hopefully it'll progress over the years. But yeah.
Okay, so we chopped up those veggies. I know y'all are going to talk about my knife skills, whatever. Remember, this is cooking the Chef K way. And so with that, we're going to put our andouille sausage into this pot right behind me. Get all it going, get it to release its oils so we can take it out and then start on our roux. I know a lot of people are afraid of the roux process, but it's really not that bad. But let's put these sausages in real quick. I'm gonna show y'all that and we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna start by putting these andouille sausages into my pot. It's already been heating and I have it on medium. So this is these same sausages after about 2 minutes. I'm probably gonna let this go for about another minute. As you can see, they have started to release some of their delicious oils and flavors. We're just gonna leave that into the pan after it is done. And then we're gonna get started on our roux. All right, so next we're gonna get started on either the hardest or the easiest part of this gumbo, whichever you wanna see it, that is the roux. So what you're gonna need is about half a cup of butter. I'm just using the rest of this butter that I have here. You can also use a whole stick of butter, equates to a half. And then we're just gonna put our butter in there. I'm also gonna turn my heat down because I can just already see my butter is going haywire. Half a stick of butter, and then half a cup of oil. And with that, we're also gonna add half a cup of flour. So I'm just now adding in my half a cup of oil. We're gonna let that heat up really nice as well. So I'm just stirring it, letting that butter and that oil marry each other with the fond at the bottom of the pan from our andouille sausage. All that is gonna be real nice and real flavorful for our roux. Once I believe that this is all nice and heated up, I'm going to add in 1 cup of flour, and then we're gonna get our wrist ready because we're gonna start stirring this up for some roux, okay? Okay, so our butter and oil is nice and heated up. You can see it bubbling, and now we're about to start adding in our flour a little bit at a time, and then stirring and stirring and stirring. I don't know if y'all remember that song back in the day, look at the flick of the wrist, but that is about what you're gonna need to make sure that this roux does not burn. You will know that it is burnt because you will smell it. So let's just get started making our roux. Just gonna add a little bit of flour at a time. Stir, stir, stir. We don't want it to be clumpy. So make sure that you are continuously stirring your roux. And right now we're at a blonde roux. Do not stop stirring until you are at a chocolate roux. As you can see now, my roux has now made it to sort of like a milk chocolate color. We still have a little bit of a way to go. And again, we want it to be that dark, rich chocolate color. I think it's been about 7 minutes now of just constant stirring, and it should have like a nutty flavor. Just as long as it doesn't smell burnt, you're good. If it starts to burn, you can just start all over, dump this out, and try again. But again, this is just kind of a milk chocolatey color, and we want it to get that dark, rich chocolate because we want a Creole roux. We don't want a light gumbo. We want a dark, rich gumbo. As you can see here, my roux has darkened up tremendously. It's getting close to that dark chocolate color, but at this point, it's now time to add in those veggies. We're gonna add in all of those veggies except for our garlic, because if we added that in right now, it would burn, and we don't want that to happen. So we're gonna add in our celery, our onion, and our bell pepper to this roux to get it cooking. And then after those are getting close to tender, we'll add in our garlic. So we want to get those in there, get them stirring around. As you can see, our roux is already darking up with the addition of those veggies. And then we just want to cook these until they're nice and tender. At this point, you'll also notice that your roux is starting to get thicker and it's getting a little bit harder to stir. Don't worry, this is a good thing. Everything is going great. We're gonna have gumbo shortly after this. At this stage, you can also start seasoning this with salt and pepper. I'm just gonna add in a little bit of salt and then a little bit of some freshly ground black pepper. Remember, you're gonna season at many steps after this, so do not over season. You can add more seasoning, but you can never take it away. And as you can see here, my veggies are starting to soften up. And at this stage, we are ready to add in our stock. Now remember, I made my stock from scratch. If you did not make your stock from scratch, you can just use 8 cups of whatever stock that you did. If you did follow along with me and you also made your stock from scratch, you get a gold star. And also, your seafood gumbo is gonna taste better than everybody else's. So after that addition, we're gonna just get things to stirring, make sure that it all starts to thicken up. Those flavors are gonna start to smell delicious in there. At this point, we can also start to season it to taste. What I use is 2 teaspoons of your favorite Cajun seasoning, a little bit of that liquid Old Bay seasoning. I guess it would help if I showed it to you. So this liquid Zatarain shrimp and crab oil, you don't have to use a lot because it is very spicy, but just to add a little bit of kick. You can also add in some Old Bay, and then with that I will also be adding, when I find it, I should have had it out to start with, some Italian seasoning, and then whatever Cajun seasoning of your choice. I will be using Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. So you want to bring this to a boil, let all of those good flavors marry each other before we add in our seafood. As you can see, they still have not married each other yet. We want them to marry each other. Also, I realized that I forgot to add in my garlic, so you were supposed to put that in before you added the stock, but I forgot to do that, so I just threw it in there. But I'm just gonna season my stock and bring this up to a boil before we add in our seafood. After we've let our gumbo boil for a little bit, it's been boiling for about 10 minutes with just those veggies, and then after I've added in my seafood stock, we can now add in our shrimp. My shrimp is the only thing that isn't already cooked, so I'm adding it in first, and then following that, we're just gonna add in my crawfish tails, my crab legs, and that andouille sausage that we made earlier, so it can just reheat. But now we're just gonna add in our shrimp to our gumbo. And this is the size shrimp that I use. They're small shrimp, but it's quite a few of them. And plus I have plenty other meats that's going to be added to this gumbo that's not just the shrimp. Our shrimp is going to cook into this close to instantly. As you can see, our gumbo is also thickened up some, and that shrimp is already curling and it's already pink. So at this point we can go ahead and add in our crab legs, throw that andouille sausage back in there, and also those crawfish tails. Now I'm here adding in my crawfish tails. You can find this at the frozen section, wherever seafood may be, or you can buy whole crawfish and break it up if you have a lot of time in your hands. I don't, so I didn't do that. I also don't know why I'm throwing this in here so slow, but yeah. Now I'm gonna throw in that andouille back into there. As you can see, our gumbo is getting richer and richer with all of that delicious meat. And then finally, our few little crab legs. I'm just gonna stir that all in there. As you can see, our gumbo is nice and rich. It is just filled with meat with every scoop. Ugh, I just can't wait to break into this and eat it. It's gonna be so delicious. So we just want this to heat up. Your gumbo should be smelling as good as mine. If it's not, then you need to go back to step 1, making the shrimp stock from scratch, because obviously you screwed something up. At this point, you can start tasting your gumbo. I tasted a little bit of mine and realized that I probably needed a little bit more salt. So I'm just gonna add in some more Tony Chachere's because it's really salty, plus it adds in that extra kick of flavor. This is just looking so good. And at this point, you're probably looking at your gumbo and you're like, dang, this is a lot of food. And I live by myself. So you're probably looking at it and you're like, I don't know who's gonna eat all of this. It's good, but it ain't that good. Anyways, this gumbo is done. I'm about to plate this up and call this a day. Look at how delicious that looks, folks. Can we just admire it? Oh my god, like, we did that. We did this together. I also wanted to make a comment as I'm making this gumbo. If you think that it looks runny, you need to keep them comments to yourself, because as I've said it before, this is cooking the Chef K way. If you have a problem cooking the Chef K way, you can always cook it your way. And there's also 2 ingredients that I despise in gumbo, and that's tomatoes and okra. And so I did not add that because I think that's absolutely disgusting in a gumbo. This is my perfect gumbo. Again, if you want to cook it your way, you can cook it your way, but this is cooking the Chef K way. YouTube, the gumbo is done. I know you see it on that B-roll footage. This just looks absolutely delicious. Oh my god, I cannot wait to dive into it. It just tastes like a beautiful fall day. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. If you want to see some more bomb recipes by me, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting new videos weekly. Remember, this is cooking the Chef K way. If you don't like cooking it my way, you can always cook it your way. But if you want to keep watching, subscribe to Cooking the Chef K way. Bye, y'all.